What's going on, everybody? My name is Trey and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about my predictions of the NBA standings and the NBA awards for the upcoming 2021-2022 season. Now, I'm going to let you guys know right now, these are predictions. So, if you are upset that, one of your favorite teams or one of your favorite players doesn't win an award or is lower on your boards than you expect, don't come out at me. This is just a prediction. Now, everything I'm going to say in this video could be 100% correct, but if it is, we all know where it came from. I'm not saying it's going to be. I'm just saying my predictions. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to start off with the Western Conference standings, and we're going to start from the bottom. And we're going to go from 15 to 1, obviously. So being at number 15 is the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the reason why I have them at number 15 is because this is not a team that has talent. But when you look at the talent, that's pretty much it. You got Shea. And, you got guys like Josh Giddey, who's a rookie. You guys, young pieces like Theo Maledon, Poku, and plenty others that could potentially Isaiah Roby and Darius Bazley, to name, if you don't know why those went blank in my head, that could potentially change this Thunder franchise around. But the Thunder have this tendency of resting players when it really doesn't matter. What I mean by that is they can start off the year pretty good, not probably playing good, but pretty good, and then around the All-Star break or maybe even a couple days after it, they just rest guys like Shea, Poku, and I think at the time they were getting Moses Brown out there, so they're benching Al Horford, and then also also more young guys, which was, I guess it made sense, but this is just OKC tanking to get the best odds, and even though they actually, I think Josh Giddey was a 10th pick, or a top 10 pick, OKC shouldn't really do that anymore, and instead actually try to compete in and night out. Even though it may not get them to play in, they should contend more. But with every other team in the West, I think OKC is going to fall into that trap again and rest guys when it's basically towards the end of the season and ending or getting less games played, like Shea's and maybe even Josh Giddey's. I don't know. I hope that doesn't come to fulfillment. But if it does, then they're going to be the worst team, in my opinions, in the Western Conference. At number 14, I have the Houston Rockets. Now, the Houston Rockets, in a lot of people's eyes, should be last in this conference. But the only reason why I have them 14 is because they have young talent that are willing and ready to prove themselves. They have Christian Wood, who was phenomenal last season but got hurt. And when he was hurt, Houston struggled, but apparently had a better record than Minnesota, so that really didn't matter. Their number 2 pick, Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr., have amazing potential as the backcourt because John Wall's not going to be here for the future, and that just opens doors for KPJ and Jalen Green to be the great backcourt. You have guys like Kenyon Martin Jr., you draft Sengun, and there's a lot of key pieces, a lot of young pieces on this Houston team. Jason Tatum, another guy to bring up, that could be good. And they can also be the 13th seed. They can also be a team, the 13th seed, but what's going to hurt them the most is kind of that experience. Because Jalen Green could go on and average a dub, but it's really not going to mean much to the mindset of maybe him winning Rookie of the Year, but really, that's probably going to be pretty much it. And I would love to see how Kevin Porter Jr. fares out. But I don't think that it's going to matter in the scale of things. And that's why Houston's going to be number 14. Now, number 13 on my list is Sacramento. And I'm going to be honest, I had Sacramento, really thinking about it, just off the top of my dome, I had Sacramento actually being last. But when I think about what they have on the team, and they have De'Aaron Fox, who is at this point, a perennial all-star threat, but since the West is stacked at point guards, you really probably isn't going to see De'Aaron Fox up there unless he has a breakout year. You have Tyrese. You drafted Davion Mitchell, which people are still questioning if that was the correct pick. And with due right now, you guys still have Buddy Hield and Marvin Bagley, which I believe you're going to trade. Or if I am part of the Sacramento Kings staff, I believe I'm going to trade them, or I would. And because, I mean, it was almost official that Buddy Hield was going to go to the Lakers, but LA backed out of that to get Westbrook. And now this just opens up a possibility of other places for Buddy Hield and Marvin Bagley to go. So that's why I think they're 13. But they also have, like I said, they have De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, Davion Mitchell, Harrison Barnes, Rashawn Holmes, another guy to name. They can have really good games. They can show to you they're actually really good. It's just, are they going to fare with the fact that there's 12 other teams better than them? And also, are they going to fare with the fact that Buddy Hield's going to want out sooner than later? It's probably going to be the talk of the Kings locker room and Bagley. And Sacramento's not going to have a place to trade those guys. Unless they somehow do something for Ben Simmons. But I don't think Philly wants neither of those two. But I'll talk about Philadelphia later. Number 12, I have the San Antonio Spurs. Now, they have outmatched the other three teams, Sacramento, Houston, OKC. They're just not better than the other 11. So San Antonio actually fits perfectly at 12. Now, you're going to have Derek White back. We're going to see what Dejounte Murray can do. If he can have a better year than what he had last year. Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson, who just came off a Team USA gold medal. So it's real interesting to see what the San Antonio team could do because they have the experience and Pop's going to be there, I believe. This is going to be Pop's last year. So right now San Antonio fans should just ride it out. They are the 12th best team, but they are not better than any of the other 11 teams that I'm about to mention for the West. Now, the 11th seed, as you guys know this year, is the first team not going to be in the play-in situation. And this is actually real tough for me. So the team that I have that's actually going to be the 11th seed in my eyes are the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You have B.I., you have Zion. You have that talent. And you have a most improved player candidate in Nickeil Alexander-Walker, spoiling the next session. Why are they the 11th seed? Two things. One, Zion is going to have the floor, though. He's going to have the floor, though. There are 10 teams better, though. There are 10 teams better than the New Orleans Pelicans. They just lost their point guard, Lonzo, to Chicago. And to be honest, when you look at what Chicago gave up, it was just dust for a guy that could be a shot in the dark, and he just needed an actual team that he wanted to run, and he could do, and Lonzo Ball could do Lonzo Ball things. So you look at Chicago, that's a great pickup. But you look at Minnesota, or not Minnesota, you look at New Orleans, and it's like, you gave up all this, and now Zion is going to want out. Because he really didn't get anything in return, and maybe B.I. wants out. But they could be close to Minnesota, who I have number 10, to be in the play-in. But The second reason is why they're not going to be in the play-in. The fourth quarter. I think there was a stat last year where I believe the Pelicans were the best team after 3 quarters. It's just every time that fourth quarter hit, they blew the lead. I think there was like 15 times when the New Orleans Pelicans had the lead in their hands, and they blew it. And that was one of the key reasons why they didn't make the play-in last year. And I think that's going to be a key reason why they don't make the play-in this year. They're going to somehow find a way to blow leads, and it's going to be super, and I mean super disappointing. And it's going to be to the point where I think New Orleans maybe even blow it all up after this season if they can't find a way to keep fourth quarter leads. Now that I've said that, top 10 teams are going to be play-in worthy at minimum. And since I named New Orleans at number 11, my 10th team is the Minnesota Timberwolves. And the reason why I chose the Minnesota Timberwolves is because this is a team that I think should turn around everything. The franchise, just rebuild everything, start from scratch. If they don't make the play-in this year, they have Anthony Edwards, who I know should be staying, and he should if they don't make the play-in. But this team has the talent. They just don't have the winning. Same thing with New Orleans. They have the talent, they just can't win. Minnesota has the talent, they just couldn't win because of injuries. D'Lo was getting hurt. Cat had COVID, and a lot of other things in Karl Anthony Towns' life that hopefully he's going to recover by. And now it's just not Anthony Edwards no more. It's Cat, D'Lo, and Anthony Edwards. Malik Beasley, which I hope comes off the bench, I know he's going to be fantastic in his role. This is a team, and you even have Nas Reed to be your backup center for Cat. This is a team right here that has that factor to make the play-in. And this is a team that has pressure on it because if they don't make the play-in, what does Minnesota's franchise do? I think they should just start all over. Trade Cat, trade D'Lo, start all over. But if they start over, then it's basically the KG situation all over again. Or even the Kevin Love situation all over again, where you try to get the number 1 pick and try to build with him. I hope that doesn't come to the situation, but Minnesota's at a point where it's like, it has to be now. If it's not now, it's probably never going to happen. Or not with the current roster they have. And I think they are a playing team. They have the talent. They just need to stay healthy and win some games. They have great starts in the beginning of the year. They just need to keep it up. My 9th seeded team, the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies had a key loss trading Jonas Valanciunas for Steven Adams, who isn't bad, but just came off one of his, not so good years. And yes, he was playing with Zion, but you gotta realize this. If Zion doesn't have the paint by himself, he's not gonna be effective, or effective as much. And Steven Adams, who was a great pick and roller with Westbrook, really isn't going to be the same great pick and roller with Steven Adams. And that's really... Zion with Steven Adams. And that was really in effect in New Orleans. And luckily they changed that. But now there's obviously key comparisons with Ja and D Rose and Ja and Westbrook. But I don't think Ja and Steven Adams are going to gel like I think they should. Because, the Westbrook and Steven Adams experience. It was either Westbrook was the leading scorer, well, Westbrook was always the leading scorer, and Steven Adams was right there with a double-double at least, or they were around the same. Or maybe it was, Paul George helping Steven Adams. But the thing is, I don't think Steven Adams and Ja are going to gel like that. And yes, There are certain rumors that Jaren Jackson's going to play center or get increased minutes in the center rotation because hopefully he's healthy. And I really do hope he is. And if he is healthy, then that's great. But like I said, I don't think he's going to gel. They also lost Grayson Allen, who, when you think about it, isn't that big of a loss. But towards the end of the year, Grayson Allen was really showing who he was, especially when it mattered most. And that, I think, was a somewhat key loss to Memphis. They still have Dillon Brooks. They still have DeAnthony Melton, and they still have Desmond Bane, who can still be great players that can flourish in the system. But also the reason why I have them at number 9 is because it's around this point where it's hard to determine where everyone's going to be standings wise. So it's like, is it Memphis? Is it maybe Portland? That's a nice spot. Is it maybe Minnesota, New Orleans that just jumps up and surprises people? I don't know. That's why I really have them at, number 9. Number 8, I have the Golden State Warriors. Now, the only reason why I have Golden State at number 8 is because we don't know when Klay's coming back. If we had a for sure day of when Klay was coming back, I could tell you this team was probably going to be better. But I can also assure you this. If Klay comes back right before the All-Star break or right after the All-Star break, the Warriors are going to be a playoff team. But I have them listed as 8th because I don't even know if he's coming back. I do like the game I see from Jordan Poole. Stats are going to do him. Jordan Poole is really good. Wiggins, I don't know if with the vaccine situation, I don't know how that's going to go. Draymond is going to be back into Draymond that we all know and love. And we still got time for, James Wiseman to blossom into something. They got Kuminga and Moses Moody, the rookies, and they're ready to ball. This Golden State team has both the now and the later. But the now aspect is not fully complete because, like I said, we don't know when Klay's coming back. But if Klay comes back earlier than I think, Golden State's a playoff team. And now that leaves me to number 7. The last playing team, at least in this case for me, is Portland. Portland is going to somehow find a way. Portland's going to somehow find a way to get in the play-ins because this is a playing team. Portland's good. Dame is amazing. And really, they had one of their best shots last year. CJ was balling. Dame was balling, but he wasn't like Dame. He was still pretty good, though. Then CJ gets hurt, and then Portland starts to take a back seat. And they barely had a sneak in. Even though Dame was now just destroying everything, he had to do so much more that when CJ came back, CJ really wasn't a big factor like he was in the beginning of the year. And that's why I think really Portland has maybe reached its peak. And when they made the conference finals in 2019, they got swept, but they played actually really good than what the box scores and what the series said. That was, I think, their peak. And it showed last year in the playoffs that they lost to a Denver team that, yes, they had the MVP of the year. They lost to a team that didn't have Jamal Murray. And if that's the case, and Dame was going super crazy, and if that's the case, that just says to you that I think Portland needs to move on with CJ or even move on from Dame and try something else. Not everything's going to work, and I get it. But there's nothing you can go wrong with at least retooling. Not rebuilding, but retooling the Portland Trailblazers. And it could happen. Number 6. I was actually really, really close to making or changing my picks. I'll tell you number 5 and number 6. Number 5 is Denver, and number 6 is Dallas. And that could flip-flop. I think Dallas could be 5 and Denver could be 6. Or Denver 5 and Dallas 6. But I'll tell you why I have Denver 6. Luka's going to be Luka. He's going to put up such great numbers. But the whole controversy that Luka and the team and the Mavericks actually they're not really gelling well because of one of Mark Cuban's friends or something like that. And also to the point where they really didn't do anything in free agency really has me questioning the Mavericks. I mean, they're trying to get Porzingis back to All-Star Porzingis in New York. But I don't think that's going to happen. And the Mavericks, being the 6th seed, is going to be real close. Like I said, they could be the 5th seed. But when you look at this Mavericks team, it's pretty much the same. Except they got rid of Josh Richardson. It's pretty much the same team. And that doesn't mean really much in terms of grand scheme of things. I mean, we just talked about Portland. And Portland, even though they lost Melo, they got Norman Powell back, which I thought was okay, but it wasn't the smartest of moves. And that was really detrimental to them because, Gary Trent was pretty good. And I thought he played this role perfectly in Portland, but they traded him, and Norman Powell was actually doing pretty good in Toronto, but they get traded, and, now that Dallas, we still don't know if Porzingis and Luka still can play together. I mean, Porzingis had he had a pretty okay year. And I know the fact that, he's 7'3", and people saying, well, he should post up. I agree with that. And there's also people saying he shouldn't, which makes sense. But if you realize, if you're not at least the guy that's going to run the offense, it's either getting the post or just getting the corner, in my eyes. Because you're not going to do anything else. So if that doesn't work out, I don't know what is. And let's talk about Denver since I had them number 5. Now, Jokic is the MVP. Do I think he's going to win MVP this season? Maybe, but he didn't make my list. And like I said, this team does not have Jamal Murray, so Michael Porter Jr. could really show Denver that he is the next incoming of Kevin Durant. And preseason is preseason, and you're not going to think of it as much. But really, I think of Michael Porter Jr. and potentially the preseason as a turning point for Denver. Where it's like, this guy is it. We was all questioning him and his back coming out of high school, coming out of high school and college. And because of that, he was a top 3 prospect, and we all knew it, and he fell all the way to the end of the lottery. And right now, Michael Porter Jr. is telling the world otherwise. You should have put me, or whoever was in that top 3, or the 13 other teams that passed up on me, you should have taken me. I think Michael Porter Jr. can do that. And he, in a lot of people's eyes, including mine, is the front runner for most improved player. I feel like I'm talking a little too fast, so I'm about to slow down right now. At the number 4 seed is the Phoenix Suns. The reigning Western Conference champions could potentially fall. And it's not a surprise. The Lakers are healthier. Should be. And Utah, and I haven't said the Clippers because Clippers are going to be without Kawhi, but I just told you right now the Clippers are going to be a top 3 team. So, I'll talk about that later when I get to them. But the Phoenix Suns, they have the roster. Because they made the finals with. They're running it back. They even brought in JaVale McGee as well. So they can easily, and I mean easily, make it to the finals again. But now you have a bigger challenge. Like I said, the Lakers is going to be healthy. The Clippers are going to be looking more, not talented, but more competitive. And there's really nothing that Phoenix can do other than just ball out. Phoenix fans, I will tell you this though. You should not be worried about making the finals last year and then getting eliminated in the first round. If that were to happen, don't worry. Because basically, you've kind of overachieved. Now, I didn't think the Suns were going to make the finals last year. And they did. Which tells me a lot. Which means, one, they overachieved, but two, they also had a really good playoffs. Throwing in a little luck here and there. Like I said, Phoenix fans shouldn't be worried about making it to the finals one year and then getting eliminated potentially in the first round the next. A team that should be worried about, though, is my third seed, the Utah Jazz. I think, and we all know this to be true, I think Game 6 of the semifinals in this previous playoff season was a good indication that the Utah Jazz peaked. That was their peak. And they're probably not going to get that far again. They're the 3 seed, though, and here's why. They are a damn good regular season team. They either surprise you, like they did last year, or just be under the radar good. Like Donovan Mitchell's rookie year, and even his second year. Actually, in the bubble, sorry for the loud noise, I think in the bubble they were the 3 seed. And they lost in the first round. Which tells you their limit. They haven't made it past the second round. And honestly, last year was the farthest they got in 6. But it's just an indication that this Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell thing isn't working. Rudy Gobert's doing his part, but in reality, it's losing them games. And I mean that in the playoff terms and not regular season. Regular season's fine. But when it comes to playoff time, Utah fans, you should be a tad bit worried that you're not going to make it as far as you think you are. And that's the same with me. Now, the top 2 teams in the West are LA teams. The Clippers are number 2. There's going to be a lot of controversy about that. Here's why. I, Tré Mitchell, hate the Clippers because I'm a Laker diehard. But what I saw from Paul George, I want him to play exactly like that this upcoming year. If Paul George can do that, he proves me wrong. I really didn't like Paul George, especially when he had the saying that is Paul George going to go to LA, but doesn't go to LA, then goes to the other side of LA, the Clippers, and you know how that rivalry went off. And then I was saying, well, Paul George had a great MVP season, as people call it, in 2019, but you lose in 5 in the first round of the game. That was a great year regular season-wise, but he couldn't even do anything about it playoff-wise. And maybe the stats say he did amazing, and just Westbrook and the other team just couldn't do nothing about it, or Dame was just too unguardable. But Paul George and his Clipper team could actually change a lot of people's mind. I think the Clippers can actually make it far. Is Paul George going to have a breakout MVP year like he kind of did in 2018? Or no, 2019? He could. He honestly could. But that's a discussion for later on. The top seed in the NBA is going to be the Lakers. Nah, shocker. Not only have we reloaded, but we got even deeper. I don't know how, but we somehow did. We traded for Westbrook. We got Melo. We brought back Rondo. We got DeAndre Jordan. We got Brad Dwight. And we got some young talent in Malik Monk, Kendrick Nunn. We brought back THT. I don't know how we did. Yeah, we lost Caruso. But we lost Caruso. I think we lost someone else. Oh, everyone in the piece that got traded for Westbrook, Kuzma, Montrez, and KCP. But I think without a shadow of a doubt, the Lakers are going to be the best team in the West. I don't think they're going to be the best team in the NBA, though. Let's talk about the Eastern Conference standings. At number 15, the worst team in the NBA, in my opinion, is the Orlando Magic. Now, I can't say nothing bad about this team. They basically rebuilding. Your best player could be Wendell, could be Jalen Suggs, even could be Markel when he comes back, even could be Jonathan Isaac when he comes back. Orlando's on the rebuilding phase. There's nothing bad to be said about that team, other than they're rebuilding. Hopefully, we can see this Orlando team at full strength. But I think they're just going to be the worst team in the NBA, without question. Number 14, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers as the 14th seed in the East. Now, Cleveland's kind of in a weird situation. Why do I say that? Well, they re-signed Jarrett Allen to a, was it 4-year or 5-year, $100 million deal? They drafted Evan Mobley, so that's already 2 centers. They basically got Larry Markkinen, which means another 4. They traded Larry Nance, which is, I guess, a good thing, but I don't see that being detrimental to Cleveland, even though Larry Nance was a really good defender, but it couldn't be detrimental. They just signed so many big men that we're now literally thinking about Colin Sexton. Like, what about Colin Sexton? Is he going to stay in Cleveland? I hope so. Because if he doesn't, then Colin Sexton could be great anywhere. I will tell you that real quick. But if Cleveland doesn't keep Colin Sexton, because they're going to have to pay him. But is Cleveland willing to pay him? If they don't, then Cleveland can join Orlando as being one of the worst teams in the NBA. I think they probably are. If Colin Sexton wasn't on this team, they would have been the worst team in the NBA because they would have no wing depth. Even though Colin Sexton's a guard. I mean, they have Isaac Okoro, and Chetty Osman, but that's it. That's your wing depth. There's like no positives to say about this team other than let's see what Larry Markkinen could do in a new situation. Let's see if Evan Mobley could at least be a double-double threat. I'm not saying he should average it, but at least be a double-double threat. And let's see what Jarrett Allen could do. And let's see what the tandem of Colin Sexton and Darius Garland can do. Like, they were pretty good to start the season last year, but then reality kicked in and kind of ruined all that. Number 13, Detroit. The Detroit Pistons. They got their number 1 pick guy in Cade Cunningham. And there was offers being thrown to get Cade, but Detroit said, no, this is our guy. Motorcade should be in full effect in Detroit. By the time, I don't know the preseason schedule, so I don't know if Cade played last night. Is he going to play today? I don't know. So, Cade's going to probably carry this team to, somewhere they probably haven't been. And it's pretty competitive, but you still had Jeremy Grant, who had a pretty damn good season, even though he was pretty much the only guy because he had to lead that team. And Killian Hayes is still in the books, but they're saying, well, maybe we could trade Killian Hayes for Ben Simmons, which I don't know how that's going to happen, but it could. So I'm at a point where I really don't know. If it happens, it happens, but does Detroit need another guard? No, because you just got your guard in the future. So I think Detroit should take it easy, and if Killian Hayes doesn't perform to what Detroit thinks he's capable of, then I could see you trading him or letting him go. Number 12, I have the Toronto Raptors. Toronto just lost, I don't want to say the franchise player, but the longest tenured Raptor in Kyle Lowry. They traded him to Miami for Goran Dragic and Precious Achuya. And they drafted Scotty Barnes, who people are saying could be Kawhi, could be Draymond. I really don't know. He's somewhere similar to the Draymond, but I feel like Scotty Barnes is the type of guy that's gonna at least give you maybe in his prime 14, 15 points. I don't know. Rookie Scotty Barnes? But he may be a threat to potentially still Rookie of the Year from both Cade and Jalen Green. You look at that Toronto team even deeper. You got Freddie still. OG's pretty solid. This is how you know I've not been paying attention to much Raptors games. You guys have Malachi Flynn, Pascal. I'm hoping to see what Pascal does. Even though if it doesn't work out, then there's options. Like I said, I just got Precious, and I think Precious is going to work out pretty well. Whether the starter or a backup, I think he's going to work out pretty well in Toronto. And like Toronto just has so many options to go from. Just, take some time. You're back in Canada. Even though he was playing in Miami, I guess that's the reason Kyle Lowry went to Miami, because he was already playing in Miami, so why not? It was weird. It's kind of a weird time though, for Raptors fans last year. So glad to be back in Canada. The 11th seed is the Washington Wizards. This is the last team to be in the lottery potentially, or one of the top 10 picks in the lottery, and not make the play-in. Now, I have Washington on here because there's a lot of guys. This is, I guess, in a lot of people's eyes, the redeem team. Other than, it's Bradley Beal and the redeem team. So, they can potentially make the play-in, but Bradley Beal's going to average 35. Spencer Dinwiddie, I'm going to be honest, I don't think Spencer Dinwiddie is going to be the Spencer Dinwiddie he was in Brooklyn, obviously. But I think Spencer Dinwiddie is going to somehow take a little bit of a falter from that. And he's not even the backup. He's just going to take a falter from that, from my eyes, for sure. Kyle Kuzma, who a lot of people, including me, still have a little bit of potential on, but it's just inconsistencies is going to ruin him. Montrez is solid. They also have Daniel Gafford. I think Thomas Bryant is injured. Rui Hachimura, who a lot of people have as a candidate for most improved player, which still could happen. And a lot of many great things about Washington. Daniel Dia didn't really have the rookie year that a really disappointing rookie year, to be honest with you. Yes, battle with injuries, but also he had Westbrook. But I don't think Daniel Dia is that, even though it's year 2, I don't think Daniel Dia fits well in Washington. It was the same thing we said when Jarrett Culver was in Minnesota. Had a terrible rookie year, and the writing was already on the wall. Jarrett Culver was not the pick. Now our 10 teams in the Eastern Conference to make the play. And boy, number 10, I have a lot to talk about. At number 10, I have the Indiana Pacers. Now, you guys are probably wondering, why is so much to talk about with the Pacers? It's just clear. Indiana is going to be mediocre. And I mean for the longest. They're not going to get that much love. They're not going to get the hype that they think they deserve, that fans think they deserve, because they're just an average team. Now, what do you mean by average? Well, I'll break it down to you. They have an all-star player in Sabonis. We know that. Malcolm Brogdon, the first 2 months of the year, is an all-star. We understand that. But it's the full 82 games. Sabonis could give you a good 20 and 12. But is that 20 and 12 going to mean a lot? Brogdon could get you a solid 17 and 7. Is it going to mean a lot, though? No. Indiana is missing one piece to be really, really, really solid championship contenders. The go-to guy. They're missing the go-to guy. Sadly enough, Karis LeVert is injured. And I'm thinking he is their go-to guy. Because you can't tell me Sabonis is a go-to guy. Even though he's probably putting up the most points, it's not really effective. Brown is gonna be one of the guys doing the most playmaking. It's not gonna be effective though. Miles Turner is gonna be putting up blocks like crazy. It's not effective though. It's showing. And maybe it was because of the coach. Maybe it was. This team could be the 7th seed, and I don't even know. It maybe was a coach. But right now, the Pacers aren't getting love. I hate to say it because they're too fundamental. They don't have the go-to guy. If the Pacers had the go-to guy, they're going to be something else. But this, after the Reggie Miller era, you had guys like Jermaine O'Neal, Danny Granger, Paul George, Veal that were clear as day the best players on the team, but all went different situations. And why was that? PG was like, okay, the Pacers could get literally one more player, but they didn't, so he packed up. VO apparently didn't get a max contract or wanted a little more, didn't get it, he was gone. Danny Granger was hurt and he fell out. Jermaine O'Neal, I think, just went somewhere else. The Pacers don't have the go-to guy, because if they had that go-to guy, they wouldn't have been the 10 seed. They wouldn't have been the 10 seed because they have literally everything else. They have a solid core. They have a great bench. Even though it's not going to wow you, it's a really good bench. TJ McConnell, Jeremy Lamb. They got Chris Duarte. And Justin Holiday. They have a great bench. They just don't have the go-to guy. And that's why they're not. That's why they can only peak at playing, because they don't have the go-to guy. And like I said, Rick Carlisle could change all that. How am I supposed to know though? I don't. This is why it's just a prediction. Number 9, Charlotte Hornets. I realized to the point where basically we're number 9. It was going to be hard too. Really, the conference, the standings were pretty hard. Here's why I have Charlotte number 9. Really, nothing Charlotte did was a wow factor. I mean, yeah, they drafted James Bouknight and Kai Jones, but in terms of free agency, they just traded Cody Zeller, and that was pretty much it. They also got Kelly Oubre, but the one thing I think Charlotte lacks is the big man position. They really didn't have a great big man. I mean, Cody Zeller was pretty good, but they really didn't have a big man that you would say, I'll take Cody Zeller over this big man. I'll take this big man over this big man. I'll take Charlotte Hornets starting center over this guy starting center. There wasn't a lot of that. And Melo is going to have a great year. Terry's going to have a pretty good year. And maybe if Gordon Hayward stays healthy, he's going to be great. But I think 9 seed is where they're going to peak at. At number 8, I have the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks. Now, Knicks fans, you can say this. How could the Knicks get better but get worse standings-wise? I say that because everyone else got better, in my eyes. Everyone else got better. So, if that's the case, then sorry, New York. You got Kemba and Evan Fournier, but you really, sadly enough, don't think you really didn't do anything over the top. And yes, you got Kemba and Evan Fournier, but all the other teams ahead of you got better. And let's go to number 7. For my number 7 team in the Eastern Conference, I have the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls are back, question mark? This year they obviously made so many improvements. They got DeMar, they traded for Lonzo, they also got Caruso and Derrick Jones Jr. in the free agency market, and now they're going to have a full season of Nikola Vucevic and Zach LaVine. This team is going to be a team to look out for. Not because they might be dangerous, but because they're definitely fun to watch. The Chicago Bulls team is probably going to open a lot of people's eyes, and I'm going to be honest with you, it wouldn't have been surprising if they would have opened mine. I think the Bulls are going to be a play-in team, but they obviously have the talent to be a playoff team. And I actually am really excited for that. If the Bulls finish as the 7th seed, I think Chicago fans should be looking at this as an absolute win. Number 6, the Boston Celtics. Now, the Boston Celtics really have had a pretty, standard offseason. They got Al Horford back. They signed Dennis Schroeder on a $6 million deal. They got Josh Richardson. And they lost, surprisingly, Kemba and Evan Fournier. But what more could you have asked? I mean, Boston has had actually a pretty good offseason. Now all Boston has to do is hope Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are healthy in the playoffs. Boston could actually be a potential 5 seed and maybe even a 4 seed if that were to happen. But I can't tell you if that's a yes or no. At number 5, this is where the controversy flies. At number 5, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, 1st to 5th, that's not good if you're Philly. From all the home court advantage in the world and a potential champion to no home court advantage. We all know why. It's because of the Ben Simmons situation. Ben Simmons is not playing another game in Philadelphia with the Sixers. He's never. So now, this is Joel Embiid's team. Officially. But I don't think Philly's actually going to do that well because they're going to be so worried about Ben Simmons, that they're going to falter. Because now they don't have the perimeter defense of Ben Simmons. They still have perimeter defense. But now it's to the point where it's not really that, I don't want to say monumental, but it's now not important as it should be on Philly's mind. At this point from Philly, Joel officially has the keys, and he has to carry Philly on his back. That's kind of what happens when you badmouth some of your teammates. I'm just saying, Doc and Joel. Even though you didn't clearly say his name, that's what happens when you play the media's game. At number 4, I have the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the Atlanta Hawks are actually a team that's going to be surprising. Now, you're thinking, how are they going to be surprising? They surprised literally everyone by beating the Sixers to go to the conference finals and actually put up a good fight against Milwaukee. Imagine if Atlanta did that in the first half of the year last year. We were looking at Atlanta as like a team that could make the playoffs, but then in the first half of the season, they weren't even in the play-in. And we're thinking like, damn, what's going on for Atlanta? And then we found out the answer immediately. Lloyd Pierce gets fired, and now they're a playoff team. I thought Lloyd Pierce was going to work great for Atlanta, but apparently he didn't. I forgot who their interim head coach was, and their interim head coach just knew exactly what to do. And it worked. Boy, did it work. I think they were the 5 seed. Made it to the conference 4 seed. I think they were the 4 seed last year. Huh. Yeah, they may have been the 4 seed. Yeah, they may have been the 4 seed last year. Hey. Now they can just do this consistently, and they're going to be solid. Top 3 teams in the East. Number 3, the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat. What does the Miami Heat have to prove? Well, do not have an embarrassing first-round exit like they did last season. Jimmy and Bam, they gotta play a little better. Now that they got Kyle Lowry, I think their prayers are going to be answered. They have reigning champion PJ Tucker on the team, and it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of defense. They still got the shooting pair of Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson. They actually gave Duncan Robinson a huge bag, and I'm congratulating Duncan Robinson for that. And now, with the loss of Kendrick Nunn, Miami could even falter, but I think Miami has a great chance to be the 3 seed. A lot of people do too, but they gotta remember in the back of their heads, they basically lost their point guard depth for Kyle Lowry. Kendrick Nunn went to LA. Goran Dragic got traded for Kyle Lowry. So this team could be the 5 seed, and we wouldn't even know. But now the top 2 teams. At number 2, I have the reigning champion Milwaukee Bucks. Now, they could be the 1 seed depending on whatever Brooklyn does with resting their players. But they could be the 2 seed because of the fact that Brooklyn has 3 talented players on the same team. And KD, Kyrie, and Harden. But the reason why I think Milwaukee's going to be the 2 seed is because they're going to take a step back. And what I mean by that is they won the championship. So people shouldn't be like, "Ooh, well, they didn't repeat or they didn't go as far as people thought they would." I think they're going to be conference finals bound. We might see a rematch of the semis again. Because when you think about it, that was basically the finals. The Eastern Conference semis between Brooklyn and Milwaukee was the NBA Finals. And the Bucks won in 7. And we already knew it was history from that. The Bucks were going to win the championship. And that's exactly what they did. But Milwaukee's going to take their foot off the gas. And, they might rest Giannis here and there. They might rest Drew here and there. And they may even do the same thing with Chris Middleton. They've already got the championship that Milwaukee's been so desiring. They can take their foot off the gas. And obviously, Brooklyn's the number 1 seed. Now, I don't know what's going on with Kyrie, and I don't know what's their resting schedule in terms of Steve Nash and the coaching staff at Brooklyn. What is their resting schedule going to be like? I have no idea. But we know Brooklyn, by front to center, is the best team in the NBA. You have 3 great players on 1 team. Same with LA. Same with the Lakers. But as a Laker fan, I'd rather have KD, Kyrie, and Harden other than LeBron, AD, and I guess Westbrook. Which says a lot. Well, I know those are the big 3 going to be looking forward to. And that is the NBA standings prediction. And this is going to end it. This might as well be a podcast. Tune in next time where I will tell you guys who gets the NBA awards, including MVP, Rookie of the Year, 6th Man, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved, and even Coach of the Year, because why not? And I'll even tell you the honorable mentions. So, thank you guys so much for watching this bitty podcast, and I'll see you guys in the next video.